We're talking media innovation on AMEInfo from the perspective of online activities marketing, and I'm quite excited now because this guy with me, Gerd, is the first media futurist I've spoken with. So, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be
media
here.
futurist. We'll come on to that in a moment, but we'll take up a point which I heard you in the presentation. You're saying, and we're here in the Middle East, home of oil. You're saying data is the new oil.
Yes.
Explain. Tell us more.
Well, we're living now in a world where about 4.5 billion people are connected on cell phones and 2.1 on the internet. And actually the largest global penetration is in the Middle East for the internet in terms of the growth rate. So basically, because we're connected, we're generating a lot of data. We're saying like, don't like, we're forwarding, it's creating this pile of data. And that's generating all kinds of industries like advertising and marketing that wants to use this data. And so the users themselves are becoming very powerful pieces, right? So we are now trading this data in return for other stuff that we want, like free music or free software or free email. And this becomes an economy that will ultimately replace oil.
Well, I'm wondering if you're trading and you're offering free items, how are agencies going to ride on that and provide themselves with a living?
Well, because what you do is when you have access to this data and it's been opted in and provided and there's rules about how you can use it, you sell the data, you mine it, right? So in a global data economy, roughly about $1 trillion right now is marketing and data mining, advertising. So everybody relies on having accurate data to do that.
So you got oil, you got mining, extraction, I suppose, of the information.
Absolutely.
And then with so much around in different forms of data, music, audio, video, whatever forms of data, one needs to filter, I suppose, sort of like panning for gold, getting the good nuggets out.
Well, in a way you could say that the raw oil doesn't do anybody any good. In a way it's also public property. It's just there. So in order to do something, you have to take it out, you have to do something, you have to filter, you have to refine it, you have to ship it, and all those are the jobs. And the same is true for data. The data already exists, but who gets to use it, who refines it, who builds a filter, those are billions of dollars worth of businesses. So if
data is going to be the new oil, unfortunately you can't get data to drive your car at the moment, but I suppose indirectly you're going to get revenue which will be used for cars of the future.
True, but of course, the car economy in itself will decline eventually to be replaced by a transportation economy of a different sort. But of course, the bits have the same sort of economic value because they transport other things, including, of course, all the content industries are depending on advertising. So that's a very powerful scenario.
So things which apply there to all parts of the globe in many ways, but here in the Middle East specifically, in terms of media innovation, what is the way forward? What is the right path for agencies to look at in terms of growing this aspect?
Yeah, I call this, we're living in this world what I call the telemedia economy. Okay, so it's basically telecoms and ISPs and operators who have the connections. It's the content people who have the content that people want. It's the advertisers who want to reach those people, and it's the device makers. And those things are all coming together now. So the way forward is to create new business models based on advertising, based on the data, based on content being available, based on devices that generate large audiences. So in a way, a whole different thinking about how the money is being created.
Those audiences are key factors, and without networking, you're saying a lot of organizations cannot survive.
No, because the process of acquiring an audience entirely based on spending money to do so is becoming prohibitively expensive. So the big newspapers, the one-page ad is $100,000. Most companies can't do that anymore, so they're getting into fragmented marketing.
I'll tap into your advice now, because AMEInfo.com online, we provide media and news in various sectors of industry, a broad spectrum. What do we need to do to go forward? Is it more networking?
Well, better fragmentation, so you know exactly what the different fragments want, and deliver that content to them, and create a really nice package of that content, because it's not just about the content, it's about what it looks like, what it feels like. So there's, for example, there's an app called Flipboard, which is on the iPad, and it generates an on-the-fly magazine from a feed. And people like the feed just like they like the magazine, but the interface is what the value is. So making nice packages, doing the right curation, adding value, right?
Yeah, okay. So it's an exciting time with growth in so many different sectors of media and innovations. What are the downsides? What have people got to be careful about?
Well, clearly the downside, the benefit is also the downside. It's like nuclear energy, right? I mean, by the fact that we can connect and do all these things, we become vulnerable because we're more open.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really work without any other way. So part of the risk is you have to do a gradual process of risk taking, rather than if you want to learn how to swim, you don't jump from the Golden Gate Bridge.
No, sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
You go in the swimming pool. Yeah. So I mean, eventually maybe you can swim across the Golden Gate, which is different. But so I think it's a learning process, a very big learning process to take responsibility, get familiar with things, that kind of thing.
Looking ahead, I mean, you have a crystal ball. If we look at the key social players at the moment, 5 years down the road from here, who's going to be around and who won't be around if we look at the key players at the moment?
Well, yes, I mean, clearly all of the big social networks around the world, QQ, Mixi, and of course Facebook and others, I mean, Facebook is infrastructure now. So Facebook is clearly a Google-like company, probably bigger. YouTube is going to be the next television. Yeah. Twitter is clearly the next CNN, TNN, the Twitter News Network. So those are keepers. Foursquare, location-based services, yes. But it's a little bit like FedEx and UPS. We will have different players in parallel. Yeah. That MySpace wasn't going to work was quite clear when it was acquired. It was already on the declining side then, right? But I think by and large, there's so many interesting new models coming up now that this is a really interesting time.
Well, it is very interesting. It's very interesting talking to you. And the final question, really, I mean, futurist, your crystal ball, where do you get the parameters and information to look into the future and come to seminars and discussions like this and put forward your thoughts?
Well, I do it very much like what I tell my clients to do. I get it from the audience. The audience and my network partners are feeding me this information. And in general, I don't actually do predictions in this sense. Right. I do what's called foresights. Yeah. So we're creating intelligence that says, okay, quite clearly, this is a real trend that you can't avoid. And that is, we are collecting this collectively, right? Everyone in the network chimes in on this kind of things, and we share, and then out comes the learning.
Well, we've been doing a lot of collecting in the last few minutes for you, so thanks very much for joining us on AMEInfo.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you.